today. The weatherman, I'm afraid, is saying 100% chance of rain. Right now, it's dry. 78 degrees, very mild. The wind only 6 miles an hour. Humidity is extremely high. Oklahoma has won the toss, and unlike they did in last week's opener, they gobbled up the football on that one today. They have deferred. Are you a little surprised?
Well, I'm not surprised because I know Bob Stoops wants this young quarterback, Kirby Freeman of Miami, to see the defense that he's going to roll out there. So a little different strategic-wise, but I think it has everything to do with momentum and try to shake that quarterback early.
Garrett Hartley prepares to kick it off to Ryan Hill or Richard Gordon, the two deep men for the Hurricanes. Here's the kick, good high and long. Going to come down at the goal line, taken by Hill. 20, 25. And out over the 30-yard line. And let's go down to the sideline. Here's Jimmy Dykes. Jimmy?
Thank you, Ron. Much attention and focus on Randy Shannon's difficult and heartbreaking background this week. I asked him prior to the ball game, how does that prepare you as a head coach? He said, Jimmy, I can look every player in the eye and tell them you cannot let your past control the present. The present right now for Miami football is trying to get back to the elite status. No one knows it better than Randy Shannon, having been a part of 3 national titles as a player and a coach. They must start winning big games to get back to that level. Randy Shannon beat Oklahoma as a player, and Ron, you know that he knows this is a big one.
James is the lone setback. Play action, though. They're going to go long on top. Play number 1. It is intercepted by Oklahoma.
Well, they're going to talk about it. The field judge said incomplete. The back judge, I believe, ruled it as an interception, and those are the 2 guys who are talking about it right now.
Leggett, the intended receiver. Marcus Walker came away with the football.
No, he didn't catch it.
No,
that
he
ball
didn't.
hit the ground. Yeah. No, they should review this. This is not an interception. That ball went right down on the ground. And it looked to me that Marcus Walker got away with a little tugging on that one. But yeah, they're going to have to review this. This is not an interception. What a nice start, though. Patrick Nix. Randy Shannon, one of his first hires, was going to get Patrick Nix from Georgia Tech, and he goes for it, taking advantage, Ron, of that aggressive defense. Watch the ball as it drops. You'll see it on the belly of Walker. Right there, hits the ground, not an interception. So this will get overturned. Now, the key for Miami, Ron, is they're all amped up. They almost hit a big one, settled down. Now you just have 2nd and 10. You just have to go back like it's the beginning of the game.
So this is not going to take very long to review, but what they're going to have to do is reset. The ball's got to come all the way back down. Here we go. Here's the call.
Review. The ruling on the field is reversed. Incomplete pass. 2nd down.
So now the defense and offenses have to switch again.
And that is one of the reasons I'm a big fan of instant replay. I mean, talk about a huge turn of events. Had that been, if we didn't have instant replay, that would have been a shame for Miami because the ball simply was not intercepted.
How much does it get the attention of the defensive coaches with them going on top on the very first play also?
And, you know, Brent Venables yesterday, the defense coordinator, we met them, said Miami didn't show us anything against Marshall. We expect to see a whole different offense here today, and they saw it early with the play action.
Kirby Freeman obviously with an audible. Gives it to James. Going to have 5 yards and then 6. Let's take a look at the starters on offense. Here is Gino Torretta.
The starting offense for my Miami Hurricanes. At quarterback from Brownwood, Texas, Kirby Freeman, a 6'3" junior who can beat you with his arm or his legs. He's joined in the backfield by Javaris James, a.k.a. Baby J, cousin of former Miami and current NFL great Edgar and James. Up front, our offensive line is anchored by a true sophomore from Fort Worth, Texas, Jason Fox. Coach Shannon expects big strides from our offense this week in their first road test.
Thanks, Gino. 3rd down play, and the pass is thrown short.
Well, Patrick Patrick Nix that time showing a lot more offense than he did against Oklahoma. And Brent Venables, the defensive coordinator, said, we expect to see that. That time, the receiver slipped coming back, and Kirby Freeman couldn't quite get it out there. They had it set up well, though, Ron. I think they could have picked up the first had their receiver not slipped.
This is Matt Bosher, a freshman out of Jupiter, Florida. Reggie Smith, the deep man. Very high kick, not very long. And the ball is going to be touched dead at the 24. Now let's take a look at the Oklahoma offensive starters. Here's Toby Keith.
Hey, Toby Keith here, Boomer Sooner, here to introduce Bob Stoops, head ball coaches. Starting offensive line at quarterback, redshirt freshman Sam Bradford had an absolute excellent game last week. Look for more out of him today. He's going to be throwing to all-everything junior receiver Malcolm Kelly, best hands in America. And we got this gigantic offensive lineman. He's a guard. We call him Big Duke Robinson, 6'5", 352. Come get some.
Well, that's really, Ron, last year.
Ball start, 71 offense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Well, they already got one of those big fellas, Trent Williams, early on, getting the start today. But the offensive line for Bob Stoops last year was a huge question, so young. And they really gelled at the end of the season and took them to the Big 12 championship. Now all of those guys back, and most of them are still juniors.
That's it. They're all sophomores and juniors, and it's almost the same way on the defensive side of the ball. Joe John Finley and Brody Eldridge, two tight end alignment. They go with a running play, big opening. And that's Alan Patrick, who is going to take it out to around the 28. Let's take a look at the starters defensively for the Miami Hurricanes.
The starting defense for my Miami Hurricanes. It all starts up front with the 6'8" Ted Hendricks-like defensive end from Aurora, Colorado, Calais Campbell. The linebacking core led in the middle by a senior from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Tavares Gooden. And in the backfield from Carroll City High School in Miami, we have one of the best safeties in the nation in Kenny Phillips. At cornerback, a future star and true freshman, DeMarcus Van Dyke from Miami's Pace High School. Defense is coached in expressively, and this unit should get it done.
Completed pass as Sam Bradford picks up where he left off from last week, where he had only 2 incomplete passes. This one going to Iglesias.
Well, Bradford was not named the starter until they got well into camp. Of course, he was battling junior Joey Halsley and Keith Nicola, true freshman with a lot of potential. But to me, this is exactly why he got this. Ron, this is close to going the distance. If that tackle is not made by Randy Phillips, Iglesias may take it to the house. No safety at home.
From the 42-yard line, flag is down, has 5, has 10, counted off at 13 yards. Kenny Phillips comes up to make the tackle, and now let's see if this marker is against the offense or the defense. Hendricks was moving at the line of scrimmage, and I don't know if he penetrated the neutral zone. It is going to be against Miami.
Offsides against the defense. The penalties decline. Results of the play is first down.
Alan Patrick is he's about 85%, Ron. He had that right ankle sprain, did not play against North Texas, was injured at the end of last year against Oklahoma State and ran very well. So Randy Shannon's got his hands full with a good running game so far.
DeMarco Murray, number 7, checks in at tailback for the Sooners. Gain of 14 on that last play. Quick out pass to Jermaine Gresham, a talented young sophomore out of Ardmore, Oklahoma. And now here is today's X Factor, presented by Citi.
Well, the reason that Randy Shannon got the head job, and I think he should have, was because of his great work as a defensive coordinator. They have been absolutely dominant against the run. The only school over the last season, beginning of this season, to go over 100 yards was UVA, and that was with a couple of busted quarterback runs. Last year, one of the best in the country against the run. So far early, we're seeing Alan Patrick finding pretty big holes.
Now Chris Brown checks back into the ball game at tailback. So the Sooners using a fresh tailback on virtually every play. He'll be stopped after a gain of 1 as Randy Phillips steps up strong into the hole to make the tackle. Oklahoma really showing a good mixture early, though. Not just with the running backs, but the quick passes.
And that's what we saw. We looked at the film of North Texas. Remember that first drive? 4 plays, 4 wide receiver screens going down the field for a touchdown, because that's what North Texas was giving them. Kevin Wilson, the offensive coordinator, really likes this young man, Sam Bradford, because of the way he controls the game. He doesn't get too excited. It's a lot like what we saw with Josh Freeman last week from Kansas State. Just a very settled down young man for a freshman.
DeMarco Murray comes in the ball game at tailback, replacing Chris Brown. Quick pass. 30 down to the 28-yard line. Manuel Johnson, the junior out of Gilmer, Texas. He had a great preseason. Came into this location as a running back, and they have made a very good wide receiver out of it.
And he can throw it, too. They'll do a reverse for Johnson, and he can throw it. Right now, Ron, Miami, I think, has to bring their defensive backs up. Oklahoma is showing that they're not going to have to go deep very much if you're going to give them a cushion. They're going to have to step up and get in the face of these wide receivers because of those screens.
Second down, they need to take it to the 23. This is Murray. Hit at the 25, but he fights his way forward very close to the first down at the 23. Kenny Phillips again.
Yep, and now we're getting the weather, Ron. That 100% came true. And it's coming down pretty hard. This, I think, favors Oklahoma.
Do you? Why?
Yeah, I think because of their running game and their ability for the quick passes. They don't have to make a lot of deep throws, and they have so many explosive wide receivers. I think the footing for the secondary of Miami will start to slip, and as long as they can keep the ball relatively dry, I think this helps Bradford.
This is the 8th play of the drive. It all started back at the Oklahoma 23-yard line. Timeout called by Oklahoma. So we'll take a break. No score, but the Sooners are threatening. 10:45 left to play in this opening quarter.
You're watching ESPN on ABC.
So 31 yards rushing, 28 passing on this drive for a total of 59. And in the ball game at tailback now is Alan Patrick. Sooners from the 23. Back to throw. One-on-one coverage. Touchdown, Malcolm Kelly.
Well, you get one-on-one coverage up top. Randy Phillips. Let's see if Malcolm Kelly has this ball when he gets into the end zone. He dropped it very soon after getting in. Woo, boy, Ron. I don't know if we're going to get a good enough angle, but
no, that's a touchdown. The minute you take a breath in that end zone, right there.
Well, it was right on that line. I think they'll let it stand, but I wouldn't be surprised if they take another look. He did catch it, though, is the key.
Well, Phillips was. That's a heck of a play on his part, but it looked as
like
though the lead. Yeah, he had already broken the plane.
Yeah.
But the referee has come over to the near side and is conversing with the folks upstairs.
I'm with you, Ron. Of course, you go back to last year against Oregon. That debacle for Oklahoma on the onside kick. One of the issues was it was hard to tell if the ball had gone 10 yards because of the angle on that. Again, they blew the call. There's no questioning that. But the key is, does the ball cross the plane before he fumbles?
Touchdown.
And the review said he did. I agree with you, Ron. It did look like that ball broke it before he went in. But, boy, you get one-on-one coverage on the outside. I believe that was an audible, Ron. Bradford saw that he had one-on-one coverage against Randy Phillips, and Malcolm Kelly, if he's not the best receiver in the country, he's one of the top 2 or 3. And I don't know how much one-on-one you want to be playing in the red zone against him.
If he's not the best, it doesn't take very long to call the roll, does it? So extra point attempt is coming up. Garrett Hartley. Knocks it home, and the Sooners made it look easy on the opening drive. They started at their own 23-yard line with a real mixture of plays and actually a fresh tailback on every snap.
And that's the thing with a young quarterback, Sam Bradford, who, in studying him this week and watching his film, he doesn't have to win the games. He's a young guy who has a lot of talent, great athlete. He's a scratch golfer, averaged a double-double in high school basketball, very confident guy. But when you have guys like Malcolm Kelly and Alan Patrick and Joaquin Iglesias and Chris Brown, he just has to manage the game. And you saw that's exactly what they called, Ron.
Let's go down to the sideline. Jimmy Dykes, what do you got for us?
Well, Ron, with the rain starting to come down, both coaching staffs told me prior to the ball game they still feel confident they can move the ball up and down this field as long as they keep the ball dry during the pre-snap routine. So a lot of expectations and pressure put on the ball boys right now. Think about this. Oklahoma's final scrimmage before the season began, they played 110 plays in a downpour. Bob Stoops told us yesterday, I almost called off that scrimmage. I'm glad I didn't. At the end of Thursday's practice, Oklahoma's skill guys put the ball in water out of the bucket and did a lot of skill drills. I think both teams right now pretty confident and comfortable even with the rain on the field, Ron.
And as much rain as Miami gets this time of year,
yes.
Of course, every afternoon practice during camp, you usually get a downpour, so Miami will be used to this as well.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be bothered, and certainly not by the humidity. But Jimmy's right. We stuck around after practice and watched the skill guys, and they were working on just that. Another good long kick. This is going to be 5 yards deep in the end zone, and Ryan Hill will not bring it out. Now, how valuable is that? That man's kicking off from the 30-yard line. Well, stay with us here on ABC for the second part of our college football doubleheader. Michigan will try to rebound from that disastrous start, and they want to stop the losing streak. College football presented by Best Buy continues next on ABC as Oregon goes to the Big House to face off with Michigan.
And Oregon, one of those teams that a lot of people think can contend for the Pac-10 championship. And the question about Lloyd Carr, there's been a lot of talk about whether he'll retire. I think if he can get things turned around, he may just step down after the season. He's probably getting a little tired of hearing about that stuff.
I would imagine. On first down, good protection. Now it breaks down, and it's going to be August English who is there with the sack. First time they've gotten to him. And let's finish taking a look at the starters on defense. Once again, Toby Keith. Toby?
Hey, Toby Keith here, America, back to give you the Oklahoma Sooners starting defensive stars. At defensive tackle, Gerald McCoy is a redshirt freshman, but don't overlook him. Linebacker Curtis Lofton, smash mouth junior. He's going to be all over you. Defensive back, junior Reggie Smith, best corner in the nation. We have tornadoes in Oklahoma, not hurricanes, and they come in crimson and cream. Boomer Sooner.
All right, Toby, thanks so much. He is a proud alumnus of the school. The running play breaks it open out over the 20-yard line. Curtis Lofton has to come over and make the stop on James. One thing about James that we noticed yesterday in watching the video, and his former coach also mentioned this to me, he is a smart runner. He has good quickness. He's not going to just blaze by you, but he's smart. He waits on his hold to open, waits on his blockers.
It's so unusual for a young back, just a sophomore, to have the patience that he has. He's had a good teacher in his older cousin Edgerrin, but he really sets up his blocks very well.
So it's third down, and if they want to keep this drive going, they'll have to take it out to their own 30-yard line. Knocked away, intended, and Marcus Walker almost came away with it. Lance Leggett, the intended receiver. Let's check in again with Jimmy Dykes. Jimmy?
Hey, Ron, I go back to what Oklahoma coaches told us about Javaris James. They said he's the one guy that they could not simulate in the scout team offense because of his bounce back ability, his change of direction. Oklahoma has guys on the scout team that can simulate the speed, but they cannot simulate how this guy runs with that football.
That's a great point, Jimmy. God-given talent like that, and as Ed said, patience. Hard to get a scout team member to duplicate that. Not Will Long again. Spiral will not turn over and is touched by Oklahoma, and the tackle is going to be made. Reggie Smith. The ball just came right back to him. So 32 yards on the kick. And we are back. Norman, Oklahoma. Talk about a tough ticket. This one was just that. Bob Stoops, since he's been here, has lost only 2 games in this stadium. That's it. Little counter tray. Miami ready for this one, and they will stop that for no gain at all. That is McCray, the senior out of Pompano Ely, who was there to make the stop.
Ron, you go back to the mid-'80s, and the series between Miami and Oklahoma between 1985, 86, 87, end of the season Orange Bowl really changed college football. Bob Stoops was an assistant at Iowa. Randy Shannon was a linebacker on those teams, and Miami beat them 3 years in a row and really changed the face of college football.
Short running play to around the 49-yard line. And let's check in with New York and an update. Alan Patrick at the ball game at tailback on third down. Pass incomplete. And that's the first incompletion of the afternoon for the young quarterback Sam Bradford. He was 4 of 4 on that opening drive. So as a result, we'll see the first punt by the Sooners today.
Just talking about that great series in the mid-'80s when Miami really established themselves as the dominant program in the country. There's a lot of fans here today. You know, a lot of these kids weren't even born when those games were going on, but there's a lot of fans here. This is a very emotional day for Oklahoma.
High pass over the punter's head. Cohen, he runs back for it, loses the ball, and then very wisely recovers it at the 7.5-yard line.
Well, Ron, this is where a wet ball can come in. Derek Shaw, well, that's not a wet ball. He just held onto it too long. He was worried about the block. It looked like Miami was going to bring pressure, and Shaw did not get a proper follow-through, and this ball uncatchable. What a huge turn of events, because the field position had swung towards Oklahoma.
Well, the momentum also had been in the hands of the Sooners until they miss on the third down pass, and now inside the 10-yard line, Miami gets the turnover. Running play inside, nothing. Craig Cooper, the freshman out of Memphis Melrose, is the man who is in the game as the ball carrier, and he is said to be as good as James is, that Cooper's going to get a lot of playing time. He's a burner.
And they were expecting, Oklahoma was expecting to maybe see some backfield sets with Cooper and James in there. Cooper, a true freshman who came in the spring, a very smart player. He knows the passing game. He can get out and route. So right now, you don't have to take him out of the game in what looks like a passing down. You can leave the true freshman in.
Kirby Freeman, the junior quarterback out of Brownwood, Texas. Loss of about 1.5 yards on that play. They try to set a screen. They throw it back over the middle to Cooper. He's tackled at the 6-yard line by Curtis Lofton, and now it's going to be third down. And if the Sooners are able to keep them out of the end zone and make them attempt a field goal, certainly a victory partially for them.
Huge win, and this tackle made by Lofton, the one before by Ryan Reynolds. A lot of people around Oklahoma were worried about the linebackers. One guy who wasn't was Bob Stoops. He really likes this group. And now with Kirby Freeman, Ron, you have a runner. I think you got to get him out of the pocket here.
Miami comes out with 3 wide receivers to the right side, and now they turn and look back toward the bench, and they want a timeout. So we'll take it with them. 6:13 left in this opening quarter. Sooners lead it 7-0. Well, the head coach waiting for Derek Shaw, the long snapper, after that miscue just a moment ago. Right now it's third down and goal for Miami, and we'll see if the miscue is going to wind up meaning points on the board for the Miami Hurricanes. Kirby Freeman in a shotgun formation. Quarterback draw, blocker in front, and boy, he is hit with an open field tackle that will not let him go. It's Curtis Lofton again. Junior out of Kingfisher, Oklahoma.
One of the things we noticed, Ron, on the film, here's Lofton right here, was that Kirby Freeman doesn't carry out his fakes very well. Lofton never bought that for a second. Lofton, a guy who plays at about 250, Ron, and the coach is very excited about him, and what a huge win for Oklahoma on defense. Again, a lot of people thought the linebackers were a question mark. We're seeing these guys can really play.
Zamponia comes in to attempt the field goal. They're going to place it down at the 10, so a 20-yard attempt. And he's got it. So we'll take a timeout, and Miami is on the scoreboard following the long snap over the punter's head, and it's now 7-3 Oklahoma.
And that's a drill you do all the time, the quick change drill. Of course, we sat with Coach Venables yesterday, the defensive coordinator, and to call him excitable is an understatement. He's a very intense guy. And you run that drill all the time where during a scrimmage or whatever, all of a sudden you just say, defense, you've got to run out there and get ready, because you may not have time, Ron, to sit and talk about what we're going to call. You just have to go out with the call and play. And Bob Stoops Guys went out there and played extremely well. Again, Freeman's got to carry those fakes out, though, Ron. Those linebackers have got to think it's a pass and start dropping out.
Well, here's our ESPNU All-State Standings review.
Well, of course, the shocker was Michigan, who is not only not in the top 10, they have dropped completely out of the top 25. And Oklahoma really sitting in a nice position with Miami today. And then, of course, in a few weeks, they get Texas. I think a couple of those teams above them. I don't know if Florida can go unscathed in the SEC, and West Virginia has a tough road with teams like Louisville and Rutgers. They can move right into position for the big one.
Bailey's kickoff coming down to the 4. Iglesias. 30, 35, and then shoved out of bounds by the kicker, Darren Daly. Well,
it's pretty amazing.
Interesting note here: since 1967, first time Miami, Florida State, Michigan, and Notre Dame have not been ranked in the AP top 25.
Who do you think of those 4 will end up at the end of the season highest ranked? I think that's a kind of a brain puzzle, because all of them.
I'll tell you in about 3 hours
about Miami.
How this game comes out, because I think Miami could turn into a really good ball club as the pass is thrown to the tight end, Jermaine Gresham.
Marshall giving West Virginia everything they can handle. Remember, Miami blew out Marshall at home last week, 31-3. Game that Kirby Freeman was not very sharp, but James and Cooper, 215 total yards. And maybe Marshall was looking past Miami for West Virginia.
Joaquin Iglesias, the man at the top of your screen, split wide out to the right. But they'll keep it on the ground. Broken tackle. Spinning ahead is Chris Brown. And Chris will have a gain of about 5 yards in the play after Hendricks is there to make the stop.
You know, yesterday when we were visiting with Kevin Wilson, the offensive coordinator, he said, you know, everyone around here got a taste of DeMarco Murray in the spring game when he broke a bunch of long runs. And, of course, Alan Patrick was so steady last year when Adrian Peterson went out. But Kevin Wilson was saying that this is the guy they really like.
DeMarco Murray checks back into the lineup. Miami shows blitz, and they come off the corner. And Murray fights his way close to the 42-yard line. It'll be a 3rd down, and they still need to take it inside the 40 to around the 38. Antonio Dixon defensively.
Well, and Murray, a guy who, out of Las Vegas, Nevada, redshirt freshman. He's got an amazing stride. Picks up yards in chunks, but he will duck his head, Ron, and pick up some tough yards. Not much there, and you hate to say it, but I think a pretty key 3rd down here for Miami.
Now the sun comes back out very brightly here at Memorial Stadium. Movement along both fronts, and I think it's going to go against Oklahoma.
Well, the question is,
Brian Simmons.
Was Dixon in the neutral zone? Because he moved first. And the rule is, if the defender is in the neutral zone and he is head up or one gap to either side and the offensive lineman moves, then it is a defensive penalty. But I couldn't tell, Ron, if Dixon. I don't know if he was in the neutral zone, Ron. And I think that's what they're talking about. I look to me like they should have gotten Simmons for illegal procedure.
Offsides, defense. 5-yard penalty. The yards will rush off for the 1st down.
Well, that's enough for the 1st down. Randy Shannon not real excited about the outcome of that call. These are ACC officials. By the way, speaking of situations that are not exactly the way they used to be, that bad punt snap is not a turnover per the NCAA stat manual.
Just a lost yardage 4th down play. That's a lot of negative yardage to put on your offense.
So Alan Patrick checks back into the ball game at tailback. 7-3, Oklahoma leads. 2 minutes and 48 seconds left in this opening quarter. They fake the reverse. Now they throw it, and the ball is dropped by Alan Patrick. Alan had a lot of running to do in front of him, and it was just clear green grass.
Well, I'm starting to learn a lot about Sam Bradford, Ron, from watching him in practice to watching him on tape against North Texas to this throw here. Boy, this young man is very accurate, throws very well on the run.
You see his numbers last week, 21 of 23, 363 yards and 3 touchdowns.
And those 18 in a row tied Jason White's school record.
Blitz off the corner. Alan Patrick, big opening. Has 5, has 10. Counted off at about 11 yards on the run. And Levon Ponder finally put the stop on him. But the running game working extremely well for the Sooners.
Well, watch Big Duke, 350-plus pounder. Got here from Atlanta, Georgia, and he was about 360, 370. Got in the weight room, and they've really chiseled him up. It's hard to believe a guy 350 pounds is as fit as he is. And Bob Stoops said, even our big guys, this is the best conditioned team I've ever had here.
Chris Brown. Boy, he has got one, and then he pays for it. Tavares Gooden, the senior out of Fort Lauderdale, comes over to make the tackle.
One of the things we talked about Patrick Nix that Randy Shannon had to hire on offense. On defense, he elevated Tim Walton, who was the defensive back coach under Coach Shannon when he was the defensive coordinator, and really lets Coach Walton call the game. They talk a lot during the game, but has really given Coach Walton a lot of autonomy.
8th play of the drive. As you can see, Sam Bradford turn around and look at the bench. Benny has an audible. Quick pass, got it over the middle. There he is, Malcolm Kelly. Second touchdown of the afternoon. 24 yards. Garrett Hartley in to attempt the extra point, trying to make it a 14-3 ball game. Just under 2 minutes to play, opening quarter. Extra point is good. McKeecher doing a nice job of handling what looked like a little bit of a low pass, and the extra point is good. So it's 14-3, Sooners on top as the sun is shining brightly, and it's certainly shining brightly on number 4 Malcolm Kelly. Whatever you throw around him, he's going to catch the football.
Here's exactly what they see. The safety is starting to sneak down, and you said it perfectly, Ron. Bradford saw that and knew he had one-on-one. He knew the safety was coming down to pick up the tight end. Gets over there late trying to give some help, but that's 2 for 2. One-on-one coverage. Bradford saw it, changed the play, sees number 4 one-on-one. He gets inside. This is, boy, you just can't. You can't manage a game any better than that. As a redshirt freshman, he has seen exactly what Miami is doing. They lined up too early in that man-to-man. They didn't show zone at all. He made the right call. And Jimmy Dykes, you can add more to that touchdown story.
Well, we're talking about Malcolm Kelly and his soft hands, and Ed Cunningham, you gave me the tip in Thursday's practice that all great receivers, you cannot hear the ball touch their hands on the catch. So at the end of Thursday's practice and today in the pregame warm-up, I stood by Malcolm Kelly, turned my back to him, and you're exactly right. When the ball touches his hands, it is silence. He's got one set of soft paws that has already paid off really big for Oklahoma.
You know, after practice on Thursday, he told Jimmy and myself about his dad throwing passes to him starting when he was 4 years old, as this kick is going to go 9 yards deep in the end zone. Great job by Hartley again. And how he busted his dad because he wouldn't throw it to him overhand. And his dad said, okay, if I throw it overhand, you got to learn to catch it with your hands. You don't cradle it in your body. That's where it came from. You know, we would like to send a big welcome to the men and women in uniform serving around the world, watching today's game on AFN, the Armed Forces Network. Thanks so much for all that you do. And we hope that you're enjoying the game this afternoon from Norman, Oklahoma, between Miami and OU. Craig Cooper is in the ballgame at tailback. Freeman with the audible. They reset. Here comes Cooper. Penetration in the backfield. Breaks the tackle. And by golly, he's going to wind up with a gain of about 7 yards in the play. He looked for the world as though he was going to be stopped for maybe a yard, and that's it. Marcus Walker couldn't hold on to him, though.
Well, all of the coaches at Miami, Patrick Nix was talking about Cooper being able to come in during the spring, which is, you know, if you want to play as a true freshman, I'm not a big fan of young men giving up a half of their senior year, but, you know, if you make that choice and you want to play as a true freshman, it goes a long way in figuring out what it's like to go to class, the offense, whatever. But Cooper's got the talent to back up what he learned through the spring and the fall as well.
You know, in prep school, he averaged over 9 yards a carry. That's gaudy. Pitch back goes to Cooper. Cuts it back up inside, and he'll have enough for the first down at the 32.
Well, Randy Shannon is through and through a Miami guy. He played on all of those games in the mid-'80s against Oklahoma, 85, 86, 87, became a graduate assistant at Miami, then coached the defensive line, left Miami for a bit to go a long way away up to the Dolphins to coach for Jimmy Johnson, who had coached him in college and drafted him to the Cowboys, and then all those great years as a defense coordinator. 3 of the 5 national championships at Miami, Randy Shannon has been a member of either the team or the staff for 3 of them.
This is James, who is back into the lineup. Ja'Marr James will take it straight ahead out to the 34-yard line. DeMarcus Granger with back-to-back tackles on this particular series. I think what they're doing right here, they can continue to run, keep the OU offense off the field, confidence builder, and also more in their favor. Because it appears as though when Oklahoma's got the football, they're going to be mighty hard to stop.
And eat the clock, too.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You betcha.
Yeah, those wide receiver screens are just like runs. And as good as Miami is defensively, Oklahoma has enough guys to roll through there to really wear you out.
Well, they had to call a timeout, and it's a good thing Ja'Marr James pointed at the play clock to say, you're doing an audible. We're about to get a 5-yard delay penalty right here. So we'll take a timeout. 19 seconds left in this first quarter. 14-3 OU. So we are back as you take a look at the huddle for the Miami Hurricanes. 19 ticks left on the clock. In the first quarter, Kirby Freeman trots back out. We mentioned he's a junior, played his high school football at Brownwood, Texas. Going to be a quarterback keeper. And he will take it to the 40-yard line. It'll make a 3rd down and about a yard for the first. John Williams is the man who got a hand on him. The defensive front, as we see a substitution coming in immediately, this defensive front is going to rotate today 9 to 10 players in and out. But our presentation of college football will continue after this message and a word from our ABC stations. You're watching ESPN on ABC. Ron Franklin, Ed Cunningham, and Jimmy Dykes coming to you from a totally sold-out, overflowing Memorial Stadium in Norman, Oklahoma. 3rd down at just less than a yard for the Miami Hurricanes. James gonna be hit and stopped for a loss. Penetration by Ryan Reynolds.
Well, it's the defensive line that started that, Ron. Right in the middle, watch the penetration, and so the guard cannot get up. And Ryan Reynolds, who the coaches talk has great instincts, saw exactly where James was coming. He's just looking to the backside, where's the hole, and because of the penetration, he's able to get right into it for a lost yardage play.
3rd punt by Bosher. Again, not real long. Fair catch is called for and made at the 24. 37 yards on the boot.
You know, at the beginning of the game, Jimmy Dykes was talking about Randy Shannon, how he's in a national spotlight this week with an article in Sports Illustrated talking about his background. Lost 3 siblings to AIDS, had another sibling steal his identity. At one time, there were 17 felony accounts that, of course, Randy didn't commit, but his brother had. Lost his father at a young age, so he can really relate to some of these young men who are coming from tougher backgrounds. I think one of the big reasons that Miami hired him.
DeMarco Murray going to be stopped for no gain. Tackled by Tavares Gooden.
And so one of the things that Randy Shannon has pointed out to all of his young men is let the past be the past. And the only thing you can control is the present. And one of the things that Paul D, the athletic director, demanded was that someone come in and instill some discipline. All the names came off the uniforms, no hats, no cell phones. He had guys out running for carrying cell phones, no guns at all. And the classroom, very important to Randy Shannon.
With the play action this time, Sam under pressure. Sam Bradford is going to be sacked. Let's check in with New York, and here's Matt Weiner. Matt? Great protection. Got it right over the middle. Manuel Johnson.
Johnson not able to haul that one in. That time Miami, who'd been playing some man coverage, rolled off. So Bradford had to come underneath to the slot to Johnson. And it doesn't quite have the hands of Kelly.
So the second time this afternoon that the Sooners will have to punt. Actually, they didn't get to punt the first one because the snap was so far over Cohen's head. And Derek Shaw comes back out to handle the chores. I bet this one is perfect. Line drive punt. Returnable at the 38. Oh, and a block at the 40-yard line. 45 and then out to the 50-yard line. Craig Cooper came very close to taking that one all the way, and there's a flag down at the 46-yard line. 45 on the punt and 12 on the return.
Boy, Greg Cooper is talent, isn't he, Ron?
Boy, I'm telling you.
And a short recruiting season, obviously, for Randy Shannon. They went through and through.
Personal foul, face mask, gets the kicking team. 15 yards.
Well, they're going to get DJ Wolf.
Down.
Well, that's not a personal foul. He did grab the face mask. I think that should have been the 5-yard variety. A huge change in field position here.
But he did call it a 15-yard penalty, so that's how we stand. And they will move it down to the 35-yard line. Javaris James in at tailback, gets the handoff, nothing. Ball is loose and is picked up by the Sooners. Reggie Smith, 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown, Oklahoma, 60 yards.
I believe they're going to review this play, but that looked like a touchdown to me, and it all started a bad snap from Rochford down low. Freeman never really gets it. Actually, you know what? He did have it. That was just a helmet on the football. That play just started so poorly. An excellent job by Steve Coleman. Excuse me, John Williams puts his helmet right on the ball and knocks it loose.
So according to what we have seen in our replay, you would think that it would stand, as you saw on the field, a 60-yard return of a fumble.
Video confirms the play on the field. Touchdown.
Regardless of how sound the Oklahoma offense has been in this first half, there is nothing that pleases Bob Stoops anymore than to do it with defense. That's his side of the ball, always has been, always will be.
When they start doing their scrimmages, guess which side he's standing on?
Hartley to attempt the extra point. He's got it. So let's take a timeout. 12:29 left in this opening half. Reggie Smith picked up the fumble out of the hands of Javaris James and rambled 60 yards for the touchdown. We'll be right back. So we are back 21-3, and that return of the fumble is the third longest in Oklahoma history. They're saying officially 61 yards. Hartley to kick it off. Hill and Gordon. We'll see if he had a little bit of a breeze kicking the other one, because the last one or the last two have been about 5 and then 9 yards deep. This one's not going to make it into the end zone. Gordon. And Gordon will be stopped at the 20-yard line. And let's go down to the sideline. Jimmy Dykes.
Well, Ron, you know Javaris James with his head on the sidelines right now is thinking, what should I have done differently in that ball game? I actually spoke with Edgerrin James yesterday afternoon on the phone. He called me and we talked for about 15 minutes. And he said his advice to Javaris James, he said, I will tell him, stick with the fundamentals in a big game atmosphere. Don't play too fast. Don't let your emotions get the best of you. Stick with your vision and stick with your timing, but do not play too fast. He also went on to say that Edgerrin's goal is to play someday in the NFL with Javaris. Baby J, he says, is his #1 guy. You know, he wishes he could talk to him right now.
Boy, that's for sure. Pass is thrown incomplete. Austin English was really applying pressure on the quarterback, Freeman. Darnell Jenkins is the man they were looking for, but incomplete.
Go back to the history of this series, Ron. I was just getting started at the University of Washington when these teams locked horns in 85, 86, and 87. And everyone in the country, as players, watched those games and just saw the difference in speed at Miami. And really, University of Washington, we changed our whole focus, went to speed and ended up winning a national championship because of that change. They really altered the game.
Cooper, right up the middle, will weave his way for about 3 yards.
If you focus in on the national championships, there's a lot of fans here that think Oklahoma would have 9, maybe 10 if it weren't for Miami. In that 3-year stretch between 85 and 87, Oklahoma went 33-3. And those 3 losses were all against Miami. So there's still a lot of hurt feelings in this building about those mid-80s games.
Third down, they need the 30-yard line. Pumped it once, now going to go long. Single coverage, and the ball is overthrown and incomplete. DJ Wolf was the man with the cover on Lance Leggett, and Leggett has just not been able to get free today. They've been all over him.
Well, the only way that they're going to be able to get free, Ron, is to be able to get the running game going. I don't think that Kirby Freeman is going to be able to beat Oklahoma with his arm alone. They're going to need some type of run game first, second down, so that Oklahoma doesn't know exactly what they're doing on third.
Bosher into punt. 4th time that he will have kicked today. Back deep, number 3, Reggie Smith. Very high, and again it is short. And the ball is caught at the 40-yard line of Oklahoma. Well, let's take a look at the 1988 Orange Bowl, Miami against Oklahoma. In fact, we pick up action in the 3rd quarter. Steve Walsh throwing to Michael Irvin for 23 yards and a touchdown pass. This put Miami up 20-7. Then late in the 4th quarter, Oklahoma runs a fumble-rooski. And that's offensive lineman Mark Hudson. He'll take it in from the 29, but Miami was still up 20-14, and that was the final score. From 1985 to 1987, as Ed said, OU lost just 3 games, and all of those came at the hands of Miami as the pass is thrown complete to the 45, and the ball has come loose. Joaquin Iglesias was the intended receiver.
Well, that's exactly what Miami needed at this time. The momentum had totally turned. Excellent throw by Bradford, and Iglesias does not lock this thing away. The defensive backs get in there and start pulling with it. Excellent job. That's Randy Phillips, who got beat earlier on a touchdown by Kelly, making up for it. Way to finish the play. Got his hand up underneath of it, Ron. You don't see that a lot. The ball is not as protected underneath, and Phillips was able to reach up underneath and pull that thing down. Excellent job by the cornerback.
Well, that receiver was not up on the ball. The coaches were having a fit. Said we don't have enough men on the line of scrimmage. And that tackle made by John Williams, who caused that fumble, and the Reggie Smith return of 61 yards for a touchdown. John is having himself a very good day.
And John Williams,
they said yesterday that if he really comes alive, that this is going to be a really good Oklahoma defense.
And he's a guy who battled a lot, Ron. He blew out his knee game 1 of 05. Last year was in the hospital for 3 weeks with an infection. He's finally getting his shot as a senior and making the most of it.
Handoff goes to Cooper. They try to sweep it to the right, nothing doing. Oklahoma right there, and they will lose 2 more yards. Matt Weiner, let's check back with you in New York. They set up the screen, got blockers in front. This is James, and a nice job defensively by Lewis Baker. Miami is 0 of 3 or 0 of 6 in third down conversions today. Wow.
Well, and it's the speed of this defense. Lewis Baker at about 210 pounds, more of a strong safety than a Sam linebacker. Ron, that play was done. It looked like it was going to be a first down. They had linemen out there, and Baker trails from the backside linebacker position, closes and makes the tackle.
So they get a turnover, but are unable to do a thing with it. They only pick up 2 yards, and here's the boot. Not very long again. Fair catch called for and made at the 18-yard line. So we'll take a timeout. 21-3 Oklahoma. You're watching ESPN on ABC. Well, if you just joined us, hard to believe the sunshine now. We understand it's getting really muggy down on the field, but we had a really hard rain in the first quarter, rain all day yesterday, as the pass is thrown incomplete, just shy of the 30-yard line.
Take a look at today's Pacific Life game summary. Sam Bradford twice down in the red zone. Calls an audible. He sees one-on-one coverage on Malcolm Kelly. Hits him in stride both times. Missed tackle for the touchdown. And then the big defensive play. The fumble calls by Williams, and Smith takes it the distance, the third longest fumble return in Oklahoma history to make it 21-3.
Well, I'll tell you what, Campbell had a sack just a while ago in this quarter. He really tattooed the ball carrier right there. You can see the leverage this guy has in the power that he packs when he comes in and hits you,
which is
not
unusual.
An arm tackle.
Which is unusual for a 6'8" guy. He plays with good pad level, and he's got long arms, but they are strong. It's unusual. Sometimes you can get into those guys' bodies and shut them down a bit.
Murray now in the game at tailback. They're trying to get him into the pass pattern. In fact, they get it to him right over the middle, and it'll be good for about 5 yards. Gooden comes over to make the tackle. Gooden, I think, unofficially has 5 stops, but there was a good read on his part because he knew that running back was his. Not a pleasant experience to have to try to keep up with somebody like number 7.
And Miami needs something to get going. They couldn't take advantage of that fumble. And with the shaky snap situation, I wouldn't be surprised if they overload and try to block this thing, Ron.
Well, we'll see if they do. Cohen standing back at the 8-yard line. Good pass. Getting right in the hands, and here's the kick. Spiral's going to turn over. From the 36-yard line is Cooper. Cooper still dancing, still dancing. And then his dance card said, no, let's move on to the next one here. They stop him officially around the 48-yard line. Near the conclusion of today's game, we'll select a Chevrolet player of the game from each team. Chevrolet will make a $1,000 contribution to each university's general scholarship fund.
I think Patrick Nix, the offensive coordinator, needs to get back into a rhythm for Kirby Freeman. I just don't think he's going to beat Oklahoma with his arm. Start getting some quarterback read.
Kyle Wright has come into the ball game at quarterback. Little play action. Wright all the way to the sideline and then just throws it away. Austin English again with a good pass rush, number 33. He's been very effective today as well.
Well, and I'm not surprised to see Kyle Wright in the game. A 2-year starter. Kirby Freeman beat him out during fall camp, but Kirby's just had some issues with handling the ball. He just doesn't look comfortable, and you hope that the senior 2-year starter can come in and settle things down a little bit. They should be able to get a running game going. They just don't need mistakes out of the quarterback position. I feel Kyle Wright maybe gives him a better chance in that department right now.
High pass from the shotgun. And straight ahead, James, maybe a gain of 1. Lindy Holmes came up from his cornerback spot to make the tackle. We were talking just a moment ago about Austin English and the job that he has done defensively. Over on the other side, number 98, John Williams, has quite a day going. 3 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, and also caused the fumble that resulted in a 61-yard touchdown return by Reggie Smith. So both of those defensive ends for OU playing extremely well today. They rolled a pocket, pass thrown complete at the 41, and that is good for the first down. It's Jones on the receiving end. Khalil, a junior out of Miami. Darnell Jenkins, I beg your pardon.
And a nice call by Patrick Nix. Get right out of the pocket, and they're going to go to a at the line of scrimmage call. They've been doing this a little bit, Ron, where they get up there and they get a play call from the sideline. Clemson used to do this. They do this at West Virginia, trying to keep Oklahoma from being able to roll in fresh personnel.
Kyle Wright with the audible. On first down, the stretch play, and he really had to stretch as a flag comes down. That's going to be a gain of 1, and that's it, as John Williams records another tackle. DJ Wolf also there to help out.
Well, Austin English did such a good job of getting off the ball, got penetration, and he was the man who was held.
Holding, 76 of the offense. 10-yard penalty, first down.
That's Chris Rutledge, the right tackle, going against English. English just a sophomore. The coach is very excited about him.
Rutledge is really the swing man.
And you can see the left hand of Rutledge. That's a good call. But they call English, they say he's Dan Cody-like. They're not ready to say he's as good as Dan Cody because Cody did it for so long here. They said English needs to do it over the long haul before we'll start thinking of him in those terms.
Right, gives it up. Cooper, 50, 45, at the 40, and tackled at the 37. Well, I'll tell you now, he's lightning in a jar. You put him in space, that's a gain of 14 yards in the play, but also it shows the quick pursuit on the part of Oklahoma.
All of the action here, and it's a meant-to-be cut-back play. This is one thing that you saw Boise State take advantage of in the Fiesta Bowl. So much team speed for Oklahoma, and a lot of young guys get them going one way and come back. A nice play to overcome that penalty.
Longest play of the day by the Miami Hurricanes. Cooper this time dancing around, but Ryan Reynolds is right there to take his feet out from under him, and it's going to be a third down, and they've got to take it to the 31 to keep the drive going. We're about to go under 5 minutes to play in his opening half.
Well, you saw the last time that Miami was in third down, they moved right out of the pocket. I think you're in that position again where you have to suspect a blitz is coming. Kyle Wright right-handed. You've got it back to his right. Maybe roll him that way to get him out of harm's way.
Third down. Crowd coming to life. Trying to help out this Oklahoma defense. Pass complete. They'll have the first down at the 28. Darnell Jenkins, the senior out of Miami Central on the receiving end.
You know, we were talking to Patrick Nix, who also serves as the quarterback's coach along with his offensive coordinating duties, about Kyle Wright. And he said, you know, obviously not happy at losing the starting job, but he's been on both sides of it. Realizes how quickly things can change. Now, Freeman didn't get hurt. They just look for a change of pace, and this young man has been preparing himself as the starter all week.
Kyle Wright trying to get him in the end zone in his first offensive series. Little miscommunication there. And he comes over to talk to the wide receiver Shields, and they were not on the same page as far as the receiver was running a go. He thought he was going to
run a hitch.
Yep.
Yeah, Lance Leggett, the inside receiver, even turned to Shields. Said, hey, man, you're in the wrong route.
So it's second down and 10. 4:24 to play until halftime. 8th play of the drive. And this is Miami's longest drive of the day. Blitz is on. Right Gets by a couple of people and then is going to be downed. He'll get +1 on the play. Jimmy Dykes, let's check with you again on the sideline.
Ron, you guys are talking about the team speed in Miami. I actually spoke with Miami head track coach Mike Ward earlier this week, and he said in his opinion Miami is quickly getting back to the just outrun you type athletes they had in the past with Santana Moss, Andre Johnson, Willis McGahee. He's really counting on a couple of true freshmen on the track team this year. Greg Cooper, DeMarcus Van Dyke. Altogether, 31 conference championships have been won by Miami football players for the Miami track team over the years.
Wow, that's a heck of a number. Right, got a man open, and he hits him at the 15-yard line, Ryan Hill, and they will move the chains again. Lindy Holmes made the tackle, but it's a gain of 12.
Well, and the offensive line is the whole key here. Watch how long they're able to hold this rush. This is a 5-man rush. Excellent. All you see is white jerseys. And Hill was running a dig route underneath, something that Oklahoma didn't see last week, but that all started with great protection for Wright.
Blitz coming off the corner, fade route, way out of bounds, so not an opportunity to score. As you can see, Sam Shields banged the football to his other hand because he knew he was going to catch the football, but he was not on the field to play.
Well, I think Wright threw that out on purpose. He saw double coverage, he was getting some pressure, and just said, let me get this thing out of bounds so we can get to second down. Ron, I think at this point, because of the momentum, Miami, I'd take a shot here soon. You're already in field goal range. Coming away with 6 would be a big deal.
Second down, here comes pressure. They're going to throw the middle screen, and Darnell Jenkins tried to run before he secured the football. That's 2 that he has dropped now.
Going back to the Marshall game, a lot of people around Miami upset with the efficiency of Kirby Freeman. He only went 9 for 21, but there was 4 or 5 drops, and we've already seen a few here today. So, listen, a lot of weight is always on the shoulders of the quarterback at any program, but especially in Miami. If your receivers aren't helping you out, it makes you look worse than you maybe are.
12th play of the drive coming up, 3rd down, and they need to take it to the 5-yard line. Complete at the 10, spinning around is Sam Shields, and Sam is going to be 3 yards short of the first down. It'll be a 4th down. Lindy Holmes again defensively, and the special teams kicking unit comes on the field.
Well, and this is the right call. You get it to 21-6, which is 2 scores. If you don't pick up the 3rd down here, I think it could be disastrous if you go into halftime at 21-3 instead of 21-6, depending on what Oklahoma does with their next possession.
Francesco Zampogna comes in. It is a fake. The ball is lateral forward. It will be a 1st and goal, Miami Hurricanes.
You know, Ron, your head coach, what an excellent job. Barely got the snap.
Calais Campbell is the man who was in on special teams, and they got the football to him.
Yeah, and David Strimple, the holder, barely got that, had to do the 2-hand shovel pass. But that's a very aggressive call, and I like it.
So, what have we been talking about? The longest drive of the day for the Miami Hurricanes. They have a 1st and goal at the 3-yard line. Fade route, far side. Flag is down. Did he catch it? No. Darnell Jenkins, the intended receiver. And the coverage by DJ Wolf.
Now they're going to get DJ for pass interference.
Pass interference. Number 25, the defense. By rule, the ball be placed at the 2-yard line. 1st down.
So the ball is at the 2-yard line. And again, it is 1st down for Miami.
Well, and this all set up by a very aggressive call. Yep, he's bumping him the whole way. In college football, you don't have to turn around to see the ball, but you cannot make contact while it's in the air.
Craig Cooper is the man dotting the I. Gets the handoff right up the middle at the 2, at the 1. Fighting his way, does not get into the end zone. It'll be a 2nd down. Marcus Walker is the man that said, nope, you're not going to get in pay dirt, not right now, on me.
You know, Ron, one of the things you wonder about as a guy goes from being a coordinator to a head coach is how does he manage the whole game? It's no longer just one thing he's doing. And Randy Shannon, biggest game, the beginning of his career on the road against a bitter rival. What a great call on that fake field goal.
15th play of the drive by Miami. Airborne, and he won't get there. Craig Cooper tried to take it over the top, and it's Ryan Reynolds who puts the lumber on him, and now it's going to be 3rd down and goal.
He gained a little bit, and part of the problem is when you hand the ball this deep against this type of speed is they can close it. I think you just need to go, if you're going to run it, which I think Miami will on this. They do not want a turnover. A quarterback sneak is all you need.
Pitches it back. Cooper hit and knocked out of bounds. Back at the 3-yard line by Nick Harris. Oh, what a defensive play.
Well, now Miami's put themselves in a position, Ron, on 4th and goal. It looks like they're going to go for it. And they have proven. Harris, a 232-pound safety, runs like linebacker body, runs long strider, knocks him out. Now you're in a position where you have to either throw it or set up some kind of throw and a draw. And that favors Oklahoma and their speed.
17th play of the drive. 4th down. The ball is placed 2.5 yards away. Fade route, near side, and it is incomplete. Flag goes down. They'll get a new set of downs.
I've never liked the fade on 4th down, Ron. You only get one shot. And very lucky that time as
Marcus Walker is going to be the person who was flagged for it. Sam Shields was the gentleman they were looking for.
Pass interference. 24 to defense. Ball placed at the 2-yard line. 1st down.
Marcus Walker, a senior, over there battling. Well, Ron, you know, there was some contact early, but they're late, it looked to me.
Well, it doesn't matter. They called it, and that's the way it's going to go in the books. This is the 18th play of the drive coming up. They have eaten up 6.5 minutes off the clock. And Kyle Wright wants to call a timeout. He wants to make sure that everybody knows what page, and they're all reading the same word. So we'll take a timeout. 1:15 left in this opening half. It is Oklahoma 21 and Miami sitting on the doorstep 3. So welcome back. College football, ESPN on ABC. Situation, 1st and goal for Miami following the interference call. 18th play of the drive. Ball is pitched back. It was dropped for a moment, and then Cooper stepped out of bounds, and I think he stepped out at around the 8-yard line. Wow.
What an excellent job. Boy, that is 2 plays on this drive Nick Harris has made. The one on 3rd down where he got a lost yardage, and that time looks like he's getting blocked, dives out at the last second to knock the ball out of Greg Cooper's hands.
This is the 18th play of the drive. We'll see if 18 is their lucky number.
And now Miami in that difficult offensive spot where you have to spread them out. You have 2nd and goal from about the 6.5.
Kyle Wright, if you just joined us, first series for him in the ballgame at quarterback. Throws over the middle, wide open for the touchdown is Ryan Hill. I mean, he was just the forgotten fella on the field.
When we talked to Bob Stoops yesterday about the 79-10 blowout of North Texas, he said, you know, the one thing I was happy about, we didn't have a lot of blown coverages, missed assignments. Well, they just had one against Miami.
High pass. The kick is up and it's good. Zampagna knocks it home. So we'll take one more look at the touchdown as we go to break. Our new score, Oklahoma 21 and Miami 10, resulting after this catch right there. So 1:06 showing on the stadium clock here at Memorial Stadium in Norman, Oklahoma, and a brand new ball game. Really a shift in momentum, 21-10, an 18-play drive by Miami.
And how big does that fumble return fit into this ball game right now for a touchdown? Randy Shannon would be sitting. Who knows what Miami may have done with that drive. They weren't doing much offensively. They make the change to go back to Kyle Wright. March right down the field. 2 4th downs. One on penalty, one on a fake field goal. Keep a minute. To cut it to 11.
Iglesias and Smith, the 2 deep men. And this is Darren Daly who will kick it off for the Hurricanes. From the goal line, Iglesias. Running room to the left. Tries to reverse his field and is going to be pushed out of bounds at the 33-yard line.
The 25 greatest players in college football history, presented by IBM. Coming in 1 week. IBM, getting it done.
The top 25 greatest players in college football was voted on by a blue ribbon panel of former coaches, former players, and media members. We'll reveal 25 through 1 over the course of the season, announcing the greatest player in college football on the last week of the regular season. Patrick Allen lost the football, and the official now says incomplete. He did not have possession. The hit was made by Gooden.
Well, and you can see the difference in the momentum when your defense is able to go over on the sideline. It got so much hotter down there when the sun came out, and they get to sit over there for a long, long spell, able to get their legs back, their breath back, a little more speed just because they were able to sit over it. Ron, it was starting to look really bad through a quarter and a half for Miami.
Quentin Chaney is coming to the lineup. You're right, and that drive right there not only put him on the board, but some new life on that bench across the way. And now here the defense is going to stop Oklahoma on 2nd down. It'll be 3rd down. We still got 38 seconds showing on the clock.
Well, if I think Bob Stoops is looking at it saying, I just want to get to halftime. And I don't blame him. I think that's the absolute right call, and they'll be able to get out actually before they run this play. They may run it, take a knee, but boy, I do not blame Bob Stoops as Lofton goes ahead and heads into the locker room. Just get out. Things change very drastically. Don't want to turn over.
Well, here comes the applause. Clock is down to 5, and there will not be another play in this first half. Oklahoma with an impressive performance for at least a quarter and a half, and then look out. Here came the Miami Hurricanes, and they have seized some momentum after that long, long drive. Let's go down to the sideline, and Jimmy Dykes is with head coach Stoops.
Coach, I want to take you back to the last scoring drive by Miami, 18 plays. They changed quarterbacks. What problems did that pose for your defense?
Well, he did a nice job executing. He found some plays on 3rd down. 3rd down, we needed to be a little tighter in some coverage. He did a nice job finding a few guys that weren't, open a lot, but enough for the 1st downs.
In your mind right now, what's the biggest challenge of this ball game for you?
Just continue we got to come out offensively and be able to run and pass, keep our balance, and defensively keep stuffing the run and take away big plays.
Coach, thanks for your time. Ron?
Hey, Jimmy, thanks so much. Our score, 21-10 at halftime.
Now the question, as you said, offense for Oklahoma has been sitting down. They just ran out the clock there at the end. Can they get it going?
This kick is going to come down short. It's a 12-yard line. This is Reggie Smith. And Reggie's going to be tripped up, and he'll take it forward to the 30-yard line on a flag from way downfield.
During the return, holding number 22 of the receiving team. 10-yard penalty. 1st down.
And let's go down to the sidelines and check in with Jimmy.
Well, guys, I can confirm what you just talked about. I spoke with Randy Shannon as he came out of the locker room. He said Kyle Wright will be the quarterback this half. I asked him why. He said he loved the pace that his quarterback played with. I can also tell you this. It is extremely hot and humid in Norman, Oklahoma right now.
Jimmy, to explain to people who did not join us off the top of the telecast, we had a pretty good deluge early on in the opening quarter. Rain just like we had yesterday. Now the sun has come out brightly, and yeah, I would imagine it's a little muggy down there on that field level. Not much of a breeze.
Well, you mentioned, though, these Miami guys are fairly used to weather exactly like this. You go through an August in Miami, and you run out of roll-on about once a week.
Second down. This running play will be close to the first down, but not quite. Gooden making the stop on Alan Patrick. Let's take a look at the first half stats.
Well, your average yards per play from Miami. Now, you go back to last year, they were 87th in the country in total offense. Kyle Wright struggled last year, but a lot of that had to do with young wide receivers and a young offensive line, but came into today, played well against Marshall offensively in the run game, have not been able to get the run game going at all against Oklahoma.
Chris Brown just came in replacing Alan Patrick. He'll get the handoff and will pick up the first down. Back to Wright. The one thing in watching him play and having done a number of his games the last couple of years, a lot of talk about potential. The thing that he seemed to get himself in trouble with was decision making, and at times where he just literally shot himself in the foot with situations that he knew he could have made a better deal out of, but he didn't.
And he was the highest rated prospect out of the state of California a few years ago, so the expectations were very high on him.
Little play action and throws it complete. And that is Jermaine Gresham, a sophomore out of Ardmore. And I'll tell you, when you get the coaches to talk about the tight ends, Joe John Finley and Eldridge, particularly Eldridge, they are the best blockers. But as far as just still raw, still learning, this guy right here, Gresham, is going to turn into an offensive weapon.
And it gets so hard if you're trying to defend them, Ron, because if Finley, Gresham, and Eldridge go out there, you think three tight ends, they're going to pack it in. But because Gresham, now lined up in the line of scrimmage, can run the slot, you don't know what personnel they're truly in.
Well, they pull the guard. The running back comes right behind him, and it'll be Chris Brown for a couple of yards as Atkins makes the tackle. Good block that time by Zaslaw, the fullback.
Well, and Chris Brown, a young man that they wanted to redshirt last year. And Alan Patrick, who had switched over from defense the year before, had to go in when Adrian Peterson broke his collarbone. And Patrick had the sprained ankle, and they had to pull his red shirt very late. But this is a guy, Brown, who's going to be 10 to 15, 20 carry guy by the end of the season, I think.
With the last play picked up the first down. They keep it on the ground. Ball is loose. I believe Miami has recovered. Yes, they have at the 47-yard line of Oklahoma.
Well, and it looked like Kenny Phillips, the safety, an All-American candidate who came flying in. Great job. Put his shoulder right on the ball and knocked it out. Listen, you're a young back. You should not be fumbling there, but give some credit to the safety, Phillips, who came down, way down into the line of scrimmage to make that hit.
So let's see if Miami can pick up where they left off in the second quarter. Cooper is the tailback. Ryan Hill, who scored that touchdown, was a little bit late getting back on the field. Kyle Wright got a man open over the middle, throws it complete at the 31 to Darnell Jenkins.
Unbelievable change of momentum. The first half was all Oklahoma on defense. 3 and outs, punts. Like we said at the halftime, 38 yards of total offense until Kyle Wright came in. Now you get a quick change, and Oklahoma back on their heels quite a bit. And if Miami can keep this going, you've got a whole new ball game, Ron. It looked like a blowout early.
Cooper tries to get it outside on the right, nothing doing. Here's where Oklahoma really will get you in trouble because they run so well defensively, and that includes the 4 down linemen as well.
And that's where you have to come back to those misdirections, maybe a reverse, get something in here. We saw the run, one of the best runs earlier was Cooper going to his right and coming back with a pulling guard. You've got to use their speed against that.
Second down, let's call it 11. They got to take it down to the 21-yard line to get the first down. 11-point lead, Sooners. Right, here comes pressure. And he's just going to throw this one away. Again, Austin English. English and Williams, you're not going to see a hurry doesn't get much as far as the stat sheet is concerned. But I can tell you, the opposing offensive coaches are going crazy trying to block them.
Well, and right now, English just absolutely drives and tackle Youngblood right into Wright's lap. But that was 3 vertical routes, Ron. You got to break those routes off. You're not going to be able to protect Kyle Wright long enough to run vertical routes all day.
Here comes third down. Again, they must reach the 21-yard line. Kyle Wright sets deep in the pocket. Only a three-man rush. Throws it complete, and that's Ryan Hill. But he's well short of the first down.
Well, you talk about decision making. That Kyle Wright should have hung in the pocket. Oklahoma came with a weak side blitz. The running back was over there, Greg Cooper, to pick it up, and he could have waited. He came off of his deep progression, Ron, earlier than he needed to.
So it's going to be Zampogna who will attempt the field goal. This will be a 45-yard attempt. Good pass. Got the distance. Yes. And he's good.
Sixth-year senior, new career long. He got that 6th year this summer. What a great story for Randy Shannon.
So we'll take a timeout as Zampogna, who is out of Naples, Florida that is, gets a career long. Well, Randy Shannon really pumped on the far sideline at his ball club. Got a turnover, and they collect 3 points on the drive, so it's 21-13. And the momentum continues to shift toward Miami. We'll see if the Sooners have got an answer right here. Daly with the kick, and it's going to come down at the 10-yard line. Iglesias. Iglesias across midfield and down at the 47-yard line. That is a 44-yard return. Jimmy Dykes, let's check with you down on the sideline.
Well, Ron, has been quite a year for Miami's place kicker Francisco Zampogna. Yes, he gets his 6th year of eligibility, and he starts a new sunscreen product called Sun Perfect UV4. Full protection from UVA, UVB, and UVC rays. The only one like it on the market. Developed by a biochemist currently right now in 4- and 5-star resorts in Miami. And this is a guy that has quite a future. He told me the best thing he's done marketing-wise is become the full-time kicker. No one wants to buy sunscreen from a backup kicker.
Okay, Jimmy, thanks. And a big running play by DeMarco Murray. Kenny Phillips came up to make the tackle, but it will move the sticks on a first down, picked up on a run. So it looks to me like on the sideline, the offensive coach's message was loud and clear. Hold on to the football and let's blow somebody off the ball.
Well, the defense is playing so well that the offense has to step up to that.
Pass almost intercepted at the 4-yard line by Randy Phillips. Matt Weiner, let's check with you in New York. DeMarco Murray continues to operate at tailback for the Sooners. First down and 5. They pull the guard. He's right behind him, but it'll be short yardage. And that block is continuing down the field. Well, now it's time for our Aflac trivia question. And this week's question is... Howard Schnellenberger is the only person to be head coach at both Miami and Oklahoma. Who replaced him at each school?
I know the answer.
Well, you should.
I didn't know the question, though, before we got there. Well, that's a little bit of a deke right there. Showing Bob Stoops after that question. And that's Dwayne Hendricks, who is their biggest penetrator in the middle of the defensive line. He's looked like he's favoring that left ankle. They do have some depth. They can rotate some guys through, but this is a guy that they really rely on to help keep some pressure off of those good defensive ends.
He's got
Campbell
3 tackles on the afternoon. Very quick off the ball. So Oklahoma with a second down. Let's call it 3.5 to pick up the first. Sooners lead 21-13. Pass over the middle and then out of the hands of Jermaine Gresham, the tight end that I was bragging on just a while ago.
Well, and he just has to make that play. You can't ask for a better throw by your quarterback. He put it on his inside shoulder because the defender was standing to his outside. Good cut block there in the middle by the offensive line. Yeah, I mean, listen, your quarterback is taking you away from Colin McCarthy. the Sam linebacker, you've got to make that play.
Joe John Finley comes in replacing him at tight end. That's Iglesias in motion. Pass goes to Johnson. Manuel Johnson short of the first down. He's going to miss it by about a half yard as Gooden makes still another tackle for the Miami Hurricanes.
Well, and I don't think there's any question here that Bob Stoops is going to go for as another Miami player. Believe it is Gooden who is down. That's too many good players in the middle. Listen, Miami does have some depth, but against an offense like Oklahoma who spreads the ball so well, and Gooden who can really move around as your Mike linebacker. Excuse me, that is not Tavares Gooden.
It's Ponder.
Yeah, it's the
Levon Ponder is junior out of Miami. Monsignor Pace.
And he's one of the guys who rotates in there. There's 3 safeties that they feel very comfortable about. Ponder able to come in sometimes and he got his. Wow. And that happens so often, Ron, where you see the pursuit come in and cause the injury.
Chris Brown has replaced Murray at tailback. And they give it to him straight ahead. He'll have the first down. Knifing his way at right guard to the 24. Spencer Atkins made the stop.
Well, you know, Kevin Wilson talked to us. Watch the penetration right here. And Brown's just going to duck right behind it. He said every time he gets the ball, he's going forward. That time Colin McCarthy just slants right in the Sam linebacker. But that is what Kevin Wilson likes so much about this young running back, is he's always getting positive yards. That's why he's in on 4th and short.
Boy, can you imagine having to face Chris Brown and also Nick Harris at Alexandria High School. Brown was a 2-time All-State player at Alexandria. That running play right there will go down inside the 20. DeMarco Murray back in. Calais Campbell on the stop for the Miami Hurricanes.
Well, and Oklahoma seems to be getting back into a rhythm. They really seem to be out of it there for a little while. And now Randy Shannon's defense having to defend the short field, and Bradford's going to call a timeout. Didn't like the personnel he had in for the play call.
So we'll take a timeout. 8:07 to play, 3rd quarter. Oklahoma 21 and Miami 13. Okay. JR's ribs
That's
looked pretty good, didn't they? About an hour and a half. That sounds like a good deal.
Well, we went over there Thursday night, and that is some of the best food I have ever had. It's fantastic.
Now the left tackle came out of a stance. That is Lodeholt, and he's a young man that they have been bragging on around here. He is a huge guy at 6'8", 352 pounds, a junior out of Fountain, Colorado. And the thing that they brag about is his work ethic. Right there, I don't know if the band wasn't playing, not at that time. And he just came out of a stance a little bit early, so it makes a 2nd down and 10. OU penalties today, 6 for a total of 36 yards. Good block by Murray. Oh, that's a hit out of bounds. There are flags coming from everywhere. Tavares Gooden is the man who hit him, and that drew a lot of attention right there on that Oklahoma bench.
Just not smart by Gooden. You know, they were going to have them in a 3rd and long situation. And he leads with his head and late. They could have gotten him for either one of those, but that just not a very good play by a senior. And those are the types of things.
Unnecessary roughness, 52 to the defense. That's half the distance to the goal. Automatic first down.
And those are the things that will drive Randy Shannon crazy. He was the defensive coordinator, so obviously he worked very closely with Gooden, but he's trying to get discipline back into this program, and they just cannot be making mistakes like that. Not in a huge game like this, Ron. On the road, they're in the game, have some momentum, and give the momentum right back.
Well, this with a half a distance to the goal, it's 10.5 yards away from the end zone, and Chris Brown checks back in at tailback, number 29. Gets the handoff right up the middle and snakes his way to around the 6-yard line. Calais Campbell, the junior out of Denver, comes over to make the tackle. Some of the Miami players still pleading their case about that unsportsmanlike call, but there was no question about it. And when they see the replay like everybody did at home, they're going to say, oh, yeah, he was well out of bounds when the lift was passed.
Well, and it was the head down, too, Ron. There was a double whammy there that you could have got either way.
Play action to Brown, right over the middle, wide open, touchdown, Gresham. So he made up for that one that he dropped. The last one was thrown to him, and a happy young man, the sophomore out of Ardmore. Hartley to attempt the extra point. Hayes McEachern, the holder, number 16. Interesting. Hayes' dad was a quarterback at the University of Texas. His mom was a cheerleader at the University of Texas. The young man decided he wanted to come north to Norman and see if he couldn't play some football. And he has been the holder for the last almost 2 years. Extra point is good. And 7 minutes and 22 seconds left in the third quarter. And our new score is Oklahoma 28 and Miami 13. Talk about momentum now.
Well, and it's such a nice job. Here's Gresham right here. He's going to sneak in and then just get into a skinny post route. Good recognition. Again, we've talked about those tight ends right in front of him. Joe John Finley. And the coverage, the safety, the corner, excuse me, Randy Phillips never got over the top of it. And you could see Phillips turn back around and look in. He felt like either a safety or a linebacker should have come from inside out. And Phillips, the corner, is stuck on an island that he can't get to that guy. And the mismatch in size, Ron. You've got a guy 6'5", 260 pounds who can run with cornerbacks. Boy, I tell you, in the red zone, this team is going to be really tough to beat with guys like that.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that. By the way, this is 2 weeks in a row which we have seen a team that had 3 tight ends, 3 very good tight ends, and both utilizing those tight ends just on a repetitive basis. Auburn last week, in case you missed that game, and this one this afternoon with the Oklahoma Sooners. Well, the ball blew off the tee.
And that was one of the things that Randy Shannon was upset about, even though they blew out Marshall last week. He felt like they had too many blown coverages, guys running free down the middle, and that time again. I really don't think that Phillips, the cornerback, was supposed to have it. Either a linebacker or a safety blew his responsibilities trying to get inside out on that.
There's the kick. This is a good long driving kick into the wing, 5 yards deep. Well, earlier we asked you the Aflac trivia question, and here is the answer. Howard Schnellenberger, the only person to be the head coach at both Miami and Oklahoma, who replaced him at each school. Okay, did you have it right?
Jimmy Johnson and Blake.
John Blake, you're exactly right.
Well, you know, they tried to deke us downstairs by showing Bob Stoops, but of course John Blake came
I knew
in.
it was John Blake.
Yeah. And of course Jimmy Johnson, people in these parts remember very well, could not beat Oklahoma when he was at Oklahoma State, but beat them 3 in a row, 85, 86, 87, while at Miami.
First down.
Well, now the momentum.
They called holding on top of a kick that went into the end zone. So you talk about double jeopardy. Wow. That's going to push that ball back to the 10-yard line. They called it on Chris Zellner, the junior tight end out of Sarasota.
He is getting an earful right now from the head coach. This is the type of stuff, Ron, that Randy Shannon has got to get rid of. They've got to stop hurting themselves in situations like this. Had some momentum. They get the late hit by Gooden on Bradford to help them in that drive in the red zone, and now they put themselves back even.
The worst starting position that they've had the entire afternoon. Javaris James will check in at tailback.
I think Bob Stoops is asking if there could be a re-kick.
Correction. The foul occurred during the kick. Penalties refused. Ball will be first down at the 20-yard line.
They stepped it off, I think, or I guess assuming post-play foul, but holding could not be called after the play was over. So they have it back at the 20-yard line. Kyle Wright, little bit off the mark at the 27-yard line. Sam Shields is the fella he was looking for.
Ron, I'm not sure if they didn't miscommunicate what that was, because why would Oklahoma refuse that penalty? You'd take it. So I just don't know if that was communicated correctly.
Well, again, and also, there's being understated, but holding wouldn't be called after the play was over. So a little hard for a holding thing to be a post-play foul. Blitz coming off the corner. The running play will go nowhere. James tackled by Lindy Holmes, and the other guy who was coming with pressure was Ryan Reynolds, number 8. He took the blocker out of the play, and then Holmes came up and did his work.
Well, and if you're Miami, you're hoping at some point to be able to take advantage of the aggressiveness of the corners and safeties of Oklahoma. They haven't been able to get any running game going, so they haven't been able to get into play action. And now you're 3rd and 11, of course, you got to get into the shotgun. So they're just getting no benefit out of a run game that was really good for them last week against Marshall.
Blitz coming off the corner, picked up by James, and he will be sacked at the 16-yard line. It is Alonzo Dotson. Alonzo, one of those that rotates at defensive end, and I'll tell you, some pretty good bloodlines there. You might remember his uncle, Santana, an All-American at Baylor, played 10 years with the Green Bay Packers, and his granddad was a starter and played for the Oakland Raiders back around 70 and 71.
Good coverage by Oklahoma. He brought a blitz, but we're still able to cover.
It's probably his best kick of the afternoon. Caught at the 38, Reggie Smith, and he will be pushed out of bounds as they were trying to take the ball away from him. It'll be OU ball at their own 44. So let's take a timeout. 28-13, Sooners on top. Just under 6 to play. And welcome back to Northern Oklahoma. 28-13 our score. Getting a look at the Buckeyes there. We will see them next Saturday afternoon on ESPN up in the state of Washington, your old home.
Should be a good scene at Husky Stadium, I would think.
DeMarco Murray turns the corner. They'll mark him down at the 48-yard line, so it's a gain of about 5 on the play. The Sooners coming out here seeing if they can't run some time off that clock.
Well, this offensive line for Oklahoma last year was really a big question mark coming into the season. Of course, everyone knew Adrian Peterson was back, but they had so many freshmen and sophomores they were relying on, and this group really gelled. Now they're 6 and 7 deep on that offensive line, so they could rotate like the defensive line. This could become a very dominant group.
Well, not much doing here. And let's take a look at the Pacific Life summary of our ball game.
Well, it looked like momentum was going to start really swinging towards Miami. They ended the first half so well. Kenny Phillips causes the fumble. Calais Campbell, and then the 6th-year senior Zamponia puts on his sunscreen and kicks a career-long field goal. But then it was the answer, Sam Bradford, to his big, talented, well, we can tight end, slot receiver, H-back, whatever he plays, Gresham can do it well. And the momentum went right back to Oklahoma.
There's Joe John Finley, another tight end. Joe John Finley, coached by his father, 6'6", 260 pounds, and he came to Norman as a quarterback.
You see that a lot at the college level. Guys come in. I played with a guy named Eric Bjornson who played for a long time in the NFL with the Dallas Cowboys, was a quarterback, went to wide receiver, and then tight end with the Cowboys. And those guys understand the offense so well, Ron, that they can really fit themselves into where they know the holes in the zone are.
Blitz on the play, and they will be right there to make the tackle on Chris Brown. And let's check in quickly with Jimmy Dykes. Jimmy.
Hey, Ron, OU first-year quarterback Sam Bradford shredded North Texas in their opener last week, but offensive coordinator Kevin Wilson told his quarterback playing North Texas is like playing golf on a wide-open golf course. No trees, no sand, no water, big greens to hit. Everything looks wide and open. But he said playing against Miami, it'll be a lot like playing a tight course with a lot of trees, a lot of hazards. Just keep the ball out of the trouble spots, keep the ball in play. So far, Sam Bradford is right down the middle of the stinking fairway in this ball game.
He has been. Well, they set up a screen. You see those defensive linemen being let go free. And then a flag comes in from the umpire, and this is not going to be good results if you're a Sooner fan. Gresham is the man who caught the pass and then was hit immediately by the Miami defender, Kenny Phillips, and also McCarthy.
Yeah, I think they're going to get Brandon Braxton for the hold.
Holding, 76 of the offense. Penalties decline. Third down.
Great protection this time. Pass over the middle, and he has it complete. Number 9, Joaquin Iglesias. 15 yards in the pass play.
I want to go back to Jimmy Dykes talking about how the fairway is going to get more narrow. There's going to be more trouble playing against Miami. Well, the good news is Sam Bradford is a scratch golfer. This young man is a fabulous athlete. Averaged a double-double in high school, scoring and rebounds in basketball. May turn out for the basketball team. Bob Stoops is encouraging him.
I was surprised at that.
I was too.
Would you, if Jeff called up and said that, he wanted him to come out, he said, I like that kind of thing. I was surprised at that. Pass complete over the middle. There's Gresham again. And the tight end will take it to the 17-yard line. Bradford has now hit 6 passes in a row as Vegas Franklin made the tackle.
Let's take a look at Sam Bradford as we break down the quarterback. The first thing I ever look at is he on balance? Little play action fake. He's over his feet. Look how quick his motion is, Ron. Listen, he doesn't have the strongest arm. Keith Nichols, a true freshman, does. But he has such a quick release, and his balance is so perfect. He's right on time. I really like his mechanics.
This is Murray. Fights his way for a couple. By the way, one other thing on Bradford. We talked about what a great athlete he is, and it said he's a scratch golfer. Let me tell you, it may not have been the toughest course in town, but this summer, out with some of his buddies, he shot a 63. Now,
you still have to make the putt. I mean, it may be wide open and you can spray it, but you still have to drain a few birdies on the greens to get a 63.
About to go under 2 minutes to play in this third quarter. Handoff hit in the backfield. Penetration on Murray as he absolutely can go nowhere. Tackled by Colin McCarthy.
Well, McCarthy has been taking a lot of chances getting up the field. This time it pays off. We saw one earlier on a 4th down where he got penetration and Brown ran right by him. That time a good negative yardage play. And now if you're Miami, you can play coverage and hope to hold them to a field goal attempt.
And some of the coaches investing with some people in Miami, they think that McCarthy, if he's not the best this year, he's going to wind up being the best. I think he's very, very good. Has a huge upside. Pass over the middle. That's Iglesias again. And this one complete to the 12-yard line as Randy Phillips will make the tackle. As Oklahoma just continues to chip away. And in fact, some of the passes that they're throwing, it's almost like a pitch play. It's a running play almost.
Yeah, this is a very controlled. Listen, Sam Bradford is going to end up with a great completion percentage on the season because a lot of the throws, he's made the tough throws, the slants, the things that he has to hit on in the red zone. But the way Kevin Wilson is calling these games because of so much success on the outside with the receivers, it's going to be a high percentage offense.
Here comes a 30-yard field goal attempt by Hartley. Got plenty of distance, obviously, and he knocks it home. We'll hold it right here. 36 seconds left to play in the third quarter, and Oklahoma extends their lead to 31-13. Let's go once again to the sideline. Here's Jimmy.
talking about whether or not Sam Bradshaw will actually play basketball this year. Let's go straight to the horse and find out. I'm with former Duke All-American Jeff Capel, now the head men's basketball coach here. And Jeff, what are the possibilities of the quarterback being on the hardwood this year?
Well, hopefully our football team is playing in late January, playing for the national championship. Our football team is great, looking good out here today, and so hopefully we're playing late. And if he wants to come out, we'll save a spot for him. They have several guys on the football team that are very talented athletes that could definitely make that transition.
You've been here for a year with Bob Stoops on his campus. What have you learned from him or observed from him that helps you as a head coach?
Well, first of all, he's a great guy. He's a family man. We live 4 houses down from each other. And just resiliency. You look at what this football program has gone through, especially last year, in the face of adversity and how well they performed. They didn't skip a beat. Guys stepped up. And, so you learn, I mean, it's the perfect examples that there's no one bigger than the program.
I know this, if you live in the same neighborhood as Bob Stoops, you're doing pretty good. Right, Ron Franklin?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. Hey, Jeff did an outstanding job this past year. And I think what I really enjoy seeing is, and you see it at a lot of universities where the football coach backs the basketball coach and vice versa. I just think it's really a healthy thing. And I'm glad to see Jeff out here watching this, because I know when we do basketball up here, I see Coach Stoops and his 3 children all the time. Jeff Capel, who you just saw in the interview, and you say, I know the name. Here's why you know the name. Let's go back to 1995. Jeff Capel, this is the first overtime, half court.
He lets it fly.
So North Carolina would win it in double overtime, 102 to 100. But as you could tell, my friend Dick Vitale liked it. That pass is going to be overthrown as Kirby Freeman is back in the ball game at quarterback for the Miami Hurricanes.
Well, you go back to last year, and Jeff Capel mentioned when he was talking to Jimmy about last year and the adversity. It's so easy to forget what Bob Stoops and his staff had to go through. They lose their starting quarterback right before the season because he was taking money from a car dealership that he shouldn't have been taking. So they put Paul Thompson in. They lose Adrian Peterson, a ragtag bunch of offensive linemen that had to come together. And everybody always just thinks about the Boise State loss. But the things that they did, Bob Stoops said, best coaching job that they've ever done at this university.
Well, I think that'd be hard to argue with. That's Cooper kind of weaving his way out to the 25-yard line. And it was Nick Harris again who was there to make the tackle. Nick Jr. out of Alexandria, Louisiana. So down to 7, down to 6, and that's going to be the end of the third quarter. With our score, Oklahoma 31 and Miami 13. Our presentation of college football will continue after this message and a word from our ABC stations. You're watching ESPN on ABC. So welcome back, college football. It's ESPN on ABC. We start the 4th and final quarter, 31 to 13. The Sooners on top. This pass, it was caught. Nope, now they're saying he trapped it. Leggett.
Well, and they went back to Kirby Freeman on those last 2 drives. But from what I've seen last week on the film, this week, it feels to me like Kyle Wright may end up being the guy that Patrick Nix, the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach, first year here at Miami, may stick with through this season.
This is the 7th Miami punt coming up. Bosher with the boot. Good high-hanging sprout. This is best of the day, far and away. All the way back to the 22-yard line is Smith. And then he will be stopped at around the 27. 52 on the kick and 6 on the return. So let's take a look at our Best Buy playbook.
Ron, we'll go back to that 3 tight end set down on the goal line. And with 3 guys in there, you have Eldridge to the inside, Joe John Finley, and then, of course, Gresham. Eldridge is going to go on to block, released to the inside by Finley, and Gresham goes in there. It's so confusing with 3 tight ends. You think it's a power set, and Cooper, the safety, never got over the top. He's got to get depth. And Ron, in a power set, you just don't expect that. That's going to be a great set for Oklahoma all year with those 3 talented tight ends.
You know, it's interesting. I brought up Auburn from a week ago. And, you know, Al Borges down there, the offensive coordinator, is really enjoying having that luxury. And I guarantee you Coach Wilson is also here in Oklahoma, because it does give you something to play with that's terribly hard to figure out by the defense.
And you look at Kevin Wilson's pedigree, working for Randy Walker at Northwestern. They did a ton of experimentation. So when they get guys that they can use, they'll find ways, new ways to use them.
This running play maybe for 1, and that's it, as McCarthy is there to put the stop on Chris Brown.
And I think that's one of the things that Bob Stoops allows with his coaches. They're all very competitive against each other, the defensive coaches, the offensive coaches, but he allows freedom for invention. He does not put handcuffs on his guys and say, no, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. He allows Kevin Wilson and his offensive staff to be very inventive. And, of course, practicing against this defense every day, they have to be, or they wouldn't be able to do anything in practice.
Number 18, Gresham checks into the lineup. And the pass is thrown to Gresham, and he went back and caught it. He juggled it, but we were just talking about he came in, and I wondered if they were going to use him on the play, and they did.
Well, he only gets credit for 1 catch.
He caught it about 4 times.
1, 2. There's a 3rd one. Now, did he get his arms underneath of it is the question. Ooh, I don't know, Ron. Well, the tip of that ball might have hit the ground, but
moot point.
Yeah, he'd be good in Sand Beach volleyball.
DeMarco Murray at tailback. And they're going to run a reverse, and he can throw. Got a man wide open, and it is caught at the 32. Kelly caught it. Manuel Johnson threw the pass.
Manuel Johnson.
Look at him. He's disgusted with himself because
he underthrew.
He knew he had a touchdown and he underthrew it. Good for 25 yards.
Well, we saw this the other day in practice, and Johnson, who did play some quarterback, is going to come back and watch the stock block and then right behind it. One of the things that allows this play to happen, Ron, is that the receivers from Oklahoma have turned into such better blockers. And so the defensive backs have to take it very seriously, but that's one Johnson would love to have back.
Murray, oh, he gets whacked hard there in the middle of that line. I think it was Atkins, one of the first men that got there to him. Also, McCarthy was helping out on the stop. Those Miami linebackers have been extremely active today, and when they get to you, they pop you.
I look at this Oklahoma team as we're getting ready for Oregon, Michigan. I look at this Oklahoma team, and I think they're perfectly positioned, especially with the big game in Texas looming out there about 3 weeks from now. If they can continue the consistency at the quarterback, which was the big question coming in, boy, they're sitting pretty to be there at the end.
Play action. Good block by Murray. Pass for the end zone. Touchdown, Malcolm Kelly, his 3rd of the day. Randy Phillips got turned completely around on the play.
Well, they do so many things offensively. Malcolm Kelly may not be a guy who's going to catch 70 or 80 balls. But when he makes plays like this, and he made such a great adjustment on that ball, Ron, he expected on his outside shoulder. Bradford put it back to the inside. He's able to adjust his body. He has such great body control and make that catch.
Hartley with the extra point. He's got it. 11:52 left in our ball game. Oklahoma stretches their lead to 38-13. You're watching ESPN on ABC. We'll be right back. Well, the new score, 38-13. The Oklahoma Sooners having their way this afternoon here at home. And that man has just caught his 3rd touchdown pass of the afternoon, and that is the most since Mark Adley's 3 TD catches against Oklahoma State back in 2004. Well, this 4 yards deep, and he's going to bring it out. Gordon. And Gordon will not make the 15-yard line.
Well, 3 touchdowns you just mentioned for Malcolm Kelly, and all 3 of them in one-on-one coverage. Watch him get to the outside, inside, stutter, and break to the outside. This is just playing catch now. The safety has to be up near the line of scrimmage because Oklahoma has started to get some running game going, but just a wonderful throw. But give credit where credit is due. DeMarco Murray throws a great cut block on Spencer Adkins. And, you know, he's a flashy guy, Ron. He's a speed guy out of Vegas. And you just don't expect a young man to go in and stick his helmet in. But that's what allowed Kelly to get open on the one-on-one coverage on the outside.
Coaches in our meetings yesterday said he is an outstanding blocker. Doesn't mind putting his nose in there. 20-25. This is James. A flag is down now. 2 are down, and he's finally pushed out of bounds on the near sideline. But well, this one's going to come back.
Just an absolutely bad block in the back. I believe it was Leonard Hankerson on Reggie Smith, and the play was already by Reggie Smith.
So that will erase a 52-yard run.
Yep, that's receivers coach. But I mean, boy, Ron, listen, the game is starting to get out of hand, but those are the little things that these coaches are going to have to harp on.
85 of the offense, 10 yards from spotted foul, first down.
We had the late hit out of bounds by Tavares Gooden, helped out Oklahoma in the red zone, and now they get some positive yardage, get something going, and they get a true freshman with a bad mistake block in the back.
Bob Stoops overlooking his football team and the defensive job they've done. They've given up 13 points today. But they also have tallied 38. Craig Cooper in the ball game at tailback. And he'll get the handoff. He'll take it for about 4 yards. Reggie Smith defensively, along with Lewis Baker. Well, time permitting, stay tuned for the Dell post-game report. John, Craig, and Doug will have scores and highlights from around the country.
You know, if you look at the national picture, you've got to start thinking of Oklahoma. The big question mark, Sam Bradford, I think, is being answered. He was really the only question mark coming into the season.
Pitch back, look at the quarterback, come back and throw the block. Kirby Freeman trying to help out his running back. DJ Wolf finally forced him out of bounds.
The secondary for Oklahoma, it's an interesting bunch. DJ Wolf was a running back who was changed to safety, and Nick Harris, who's moved around, played some linebacker, now ends up at free safety. And Wolf, a guy who was at cornerback, Ron, and just didn't quite get it. He fell asleep on some plays. He wasn't totally in tune. And Bobby Jack Wright, the defensive backfield coach, said, let's try him at safety. And he took to it like a duck to water this spring and continued to grow this fall.
It was interesting. Brent Venables said, boy, Bobby Jack just nailed that one when he said, let's try this young man at a different spot here, and I think he'll do a good job at safety, and he really has blossomed.
And they were worried that the spring may have been an aberration because he played so well, and when they came into fall camp, they really kept their eye on him and thought, is Wolf going to be able to do it? Because he'd shown kind of to be up and down a little bit at corner, but he's a real nice addition back there with Nick Harris.
See if Bosher can equal what he did just a moment ago. He boomed a 62-yard kick. Well, this spiral not quite turning over, and it hit off the headgear of the Miami player at the 40-yard line.
Interference on Miami, so if it's spot of the foul, they'll add 5.
Kick catch interference against 88 of the kicking team. It's 15 yards to the spot of foul. First down.
Excuse me, 15 yards because of the danger issue that has become a bigger foul.
So let's take a timeout. 10:09 left in our ball game. 38-13 Sooners. So we're back to Norman, and it's kind of hard to believe that we opened this ball game with a deluge, a real storm. And now the sun has come out and has turned into a delightful afternoon. And DeMarco Murray back in the ball game at tailback, and he'll get the call. Tries to bounce it outside, and he has to hurdle the bench right in front of the wall. And a couple of the coaches are saying, catch our guy. Don't let him hit the bench over there. Oh, man. Yeah, that's right. I mean, he's our guy. Look at this.
They're just getting out of the way. Yeah,
they just parted the way.
You're supposed to stand there and soften the blow.
Oh, my. Murray going to be collared by Kenny Phillips, but not before he picks up the first down. And now let's go to Matt Weiner in our New York studio for a SportsCenter in-game update. I have a feeling it's been a very serious, no-nonsense work week in Ann Arbor. In fact, I know it has. Boy, hit from behind is Chris Brown. And when we show you that loss from last week, final play of the game, Corey Lynch is the man who will block the Michigan field goal attempt, trying to seal a victory. There's the block right there. He was well through. And then Jerry Moore carried off the field. Appalachian State 34-32 over number 5 Michigan.
And I love what the AP did this week. They changed their rule to allow their voters to vote for lower division teams. I thought that was a great move by the AP.
Yeah. Murray, stiff arms, takes it down to the 10-yard line. It's another first down. 11 yards on the play, and Carlos Amor makes the stop.
Well, we did some research looking at some of the notable college football upsets. A lot of people thinking that might be the biggest ever. Carnegie Tech beats Notre Dame. Well, Knute Rockne figured they were going to win, so he didn't even go. He went to Army-Navy. Washington, who the year before had beat Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl to go 11-1, 37-point underdogs lose to Oregon State at home. And then the huge upset, Temple over Virginia Tech back in 1998. That was when Virginia Tech was starting to get towards being a national championship caliber program.
Well, Murray stopped in the middle of the line, and let's see, they're going to give him forward progress to around the 9-yard line. Clock is running, about to go under 8 minutes left in our ball game. Zaslaw will check back in as the fullback. Coming up from the big house, it is Oregon and Michigan. And next week we'll take a look at the Pac-10 against the Big Ten again. We'll have the Ohio State Buckeyes up at UW. Pass in the flat, wide open. Zaslaw, the fullback, touchdown.
Well, this game is exercising a lot of demons for some of the older OU fans who, anybody over the age of about 35 years old who's an OU fan remembers oh so well the pain inflicted by Miami. Nobody knows it as well as Randy Shannon, who was a linebacker on those Miami teams that went 3-0. A lot of fans in Oklahoma think that 2 of those losses may have cost Oklahoma national championships.
Yeah, that's right. They sure do. It was interesting. I was watching the sideline. Fullbacks don't get a lot of attention. And for that extra point attempt is no good. It went wide left. But Zaslaw was given a bone on that one, and he took it to the house and scored. 44-13, our score with 7:41 remaining. You're watching ESPN on ABC. 44-13 our score. Oklahoma on top. And here comes the kickoff. From the 3-yard line, Gordon. Brian Jackson downfield on special teams. And let's take a look at the Pacific Life game summary.
Well, note to the rest of the schedule for Oklahoma. Do not try to cover Malcolm Kelly one-on-one. At 6'4", 220 pounds with great body control and unbelievably soft hands. It's a losing proposition, and they have a quarterback that can get it to him, an offensive line that can protect. 3 touchdowns today, all on one-on-one coverage. I would hope that teams that scout Oklahoma aren't going to try that much the rest of the year.
Here comes Craig Cooper, tries to bounce it to the outside, but defensively, DJ Wolf a little too quick for him, and he makes a good open field tackle. Okay, Matt, 44-13 Oklahoma. Cooper looking for some place to run, and they're just not a spot, and a flag is down across the way on the sideline. Baker will be credited with the tackle for OU.
Patrick Nix, the offensive coordinator, has his hands full, as every offensive coordinator is going to have their hands full against this Oklahoma bunch. Ron, these guys, they're big in the middle where they need to be at defensive tackle. They can hold up, but so much speed. English on the outside. We've seen
John Williams.
Illegal formation against the offense. They did not have 7 men on the line. Penalties refused. 3rd down.
And let's check down on the sideline with Jimmy Dykes, and we'll do that after this play. He'll have more on Patrick Nix and the young offensive coordinator for this Miami Hurricanes football team. It's a big weekend for the Nix family, and Jimmy will tell us exactly why. Short yardage on the running play. Let's check in with you, Jimmy.
Well, a tough day for Patrick Nix, but his father, Conrad, has been a high school coach for 40 years, and last night his nationally ranked Northside High School beat arch rival Warner Robins Georgia High School 34-7 in front of 18,000 people. The reason why I know that, my wake-up call this morning at 6:30 a.m. came from Conrad Nix, and I answered the phone and he said, "This is the real Coach Nix. I'm calling to tell you what the score was last night." But he was a joy to talk to, and wasn't it great to hear Patrick talk about all the influences he's had on him as a coach. And he said, but my number one influence has been my dad as a coach and as a father. And I know Conrad was awfully happy. That was a big rivalry game last night, guys. He compared it to the Alabama-Auburn game when those two schools hook up.
Wow. And we'll be back. Jimmy, we'll talk more about Coach Nix when we return. 5:59 left in our ball game. All Oklahoma right now. The top 25 greatest players in college football was voted on by a blue ribbon panel of former coaches, former players, and media members. We'll reveal 25 through number 1 over the course of the season, announcing the greatest player in college football on the last week of the regular season.
You've got to figure Leroy Selman be on that list. Staying in Oklahoma, Barry Sanders will have to be on that list.
Halsley is in at quarterback, and that was Madu who carried. So getting some youngsters into the ball game with just over 5 minutes to play, and an opportunity for them to show off their progress from the field. They work as hard as everybody else.
Well, another guy we may see is Keith Nicola, true freshman out of Michigan, who has a lot of ability, and the quarterback battle over the next few years is going to be rather interesting here at Oklahoma.
Well, to help decide the Pontiac game-changing performance of the day, go to ESPN.com, search Pontiac to determine which school will win $5,000 and a chance to win $100,000 at the end of the season.
Well, I would have to give that to Malcolm Kelly here today. You know, the coaches talk about he's not up there as high as he should be in some of the all-conference and all-American lists, but it's hard to find a better one.
You know, I'm not sure that's such a bad thing, because ultimately at the end he is going to be there. I mean, he's going to have to be. And this young fella that they keep throwing to Jermaine Grisham, I mean, they talk about a raw talent. Now, he's a talent, but to to go back to Malcolm Kelly, I think it has added more fuel to his fire. And he plays with a lot of fire anyway. But I know when I saw him and visited with him down at the Big 12 meetings in San Antonio, yeah, he was a little angst over the fact that he was not on the first team as a wide receiver.
Would you rather be a top 10 pick or all conference? I think I know which one my wallet would take.
By the way, this game this afternoon, you want to see the importance. A lot of the youngsters may not remember when they had played back in the 80s. Attendance 85,357. That is the largest in Oklahoma football history and the largest crowd for any sports event in the state of Oklahoma.
And it all goes back to when it started in 1985. Miami comes in here. Jimmy Johnson, who everyone here thought, oh, we're just going to beat Jimmy like we did when he was Oklahoma State. Jerome Brown breaks Troy Aikman's ankle. Jamel Holloway has to come in. They lose that game. Oklahoma goes on to win the national championship, goes back to the wishbone. Then in 1986, Vinny Testaverde throws 4 touchdowns in a number 1 versus number 2. Brian Bosworth on that team. And then, of course, we already showed the highlight from the 88 Orange Bowl, but for the 87 season, Miami in a 1 versus 2 wins the national championship. So a lot of things to make up today.
Halsley, that's to now. Nobody's going to catch Adrian. 61 yards. So Joey Halsley not only gets an opportunity to throw, but shows that the Sooners have got some depth at quarterback as well.
Want to hear the scary part, Ron? There's only 5 seniors that start on this Oklahoma team. As good as they were last year with a young bunch, and as good as they're looking this year, and I think if they continue to show this type of play with that many different receivers and weapons on offense, because we know they could play defense, I think they may be standing at the end of the season in that BCS championship game. Things are looking awfully good for Coach Stoops and his staff going forward.
You know, the only thing that Coach Stoops is going to have to bark at him about, the 2 special teams plays. The over-the-head snap and the missed extra point. Hartley knocks this one right down the middle. But he's going to really have to nitpick to find anything else. Wouldn't you think?
Well, I think one of the things that he will nitpick, you know, he worked under Steve Spurrier for all those years. And I've talked to Coach Stoops a lot about some of the things he learned from Coach Spurrier. And one of the key things that he learned was you really hammer them when they win and you treat them like they're kings when they lose. I bet you that this is going to be a very aggressive week. They got Utah State, Tulsa, then they start conference play at Colorado, and then, of course, the Red River rivalry against Texas. So they're not going to relax after a big blowout win against Miami.
Two minutes and 48 seconds is what we have left on the clock. And a lot of folks are very content to leave early. They are Oklahoma fans that have enjoyed what they saw.
And you flip to the other side with Miami and what Randy Shannon. Listen, Miami is just not at the level of Oklahoma right now. And they came in, they put up a little fight there for about a quarter and a half at the end of the first half and the beginning of the second half. But those little mistakes, Ron, those are the things that the hitting guys out of bounds, the blocks in the back, those are the things that they're going to have to clean up. Offensively, they're struggling. They're going to have to find something. I think Kyle Wright might be the guy, but they need to find something because they can't play defense if they're not on the field the whole game.
Everybody I talked to who follows this program, though, said there's the key, quarterback. If they get good quarterback play, this is going to be an extremely competitive football team, speaking of the Hurricanes. Here's Gordon, and he'll take it to the 22-yard line. You know, the Coach Hepner story from Indiana, we all know his very unfortunate, untimely death. There is his wife, Jane, and the kids were on hand. This is Indiana against Indiana State. And James Hardy, a 58-yard touchdown pass from Kellen Lewis. And the sad thing about it is the young man was holding the ball up as if to say, Coach Hepner, this one is for you. And the officials, I'm afraid, gave him an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. Thomas has checked into the ball game at tailback. And he gets the handoff and the same rude treatment that the other backs have all day long. The defensive front of OU has been relentless. Lindy Holmes will get credit for the tackle.
You know, we were talking to Kevin Wilson, the offensive coordinator for Oklahoma yesterday, who worked with both Terry Hepner and Randy Walker,
yes,
the Northwestern coach who died tragically before last season. And, you know, the whole time, Ron, he had a smile on his face, and you could tell, you know, tragic that those men had passed so quickly, but how much fun he had working with those guys and how much he learned. And you look at the offense he puts out on the field, so inventive, uses so many of their great athletes so well. He's just a really good coach.
Well, today's Chevrolet players of the game are Kyle Wright from the Miami Hurricanes and Malcolm Kelly. 102 yards and 3 touchdowns for him. And in recognition for their efforts, Chevrolet will make a $1,000 contribution to each university's general scholarship fund. And again, all right, John, we talked about what a serious week it has been in Ann Arbor, and I'm sure it's been just that. And I think you can look for the Michigan Wolverines to really have them buckled up tight today and ready to go, as that kick's going to go dead to the 25-yard line.
You know what's nice about having the early kick today for us, Ron? Virginia Tech, LSU.
We get to enjoy a lot of good football the rest of the day. 35 seconds showing on the clock. And 49-2 at home for Bob Stoops. Those are some pretty powerful numbers, aren't they?
Well, it's not going to get worse because he has stacked. And I've heard, talking to some of the people in the know, that the verbal commitments he has for this class may be the best recruiting class he's ever had here. If you go by the services and all of those, which sometimes are a little faulty, but boy, has him and his staff done a tremendous job. And you see the depth. They just keep rolling guys in that can all play.
So the clock is going to run down. Randy Shannon trotting across the field to say good luck to Bob Stoops and the remainder of the Miami staff as well right behind him. Oh, we opened today with over 85,000 here at Memorial Stadium, and they got their money's worth. Midway of the second quarter, Miami really made a run, but it was not to be. Coming up next, our college football doubleheader continues as Oregon takes on Michigan. Brett Cunningham and Jimmy Dykes. I'm Ron Franklin saying so long from Norman, Oklahoma. Once again, the final score is Oklahoma 51 and Miami 13. So long, everybody.